this story is Paul Bernal. He's a lecturer in information technology at the University of East Anglia and author of Internet Privacy Rights. Well, thanks ever so much for joining us. Look, it's easier to sneer at the Frenchman who's suing Uber for his own indiscretions, but coding glitches here have consequences. There's a privacy issue, isn't there?
There's a big privacy issue, and I think, as you say, it's easy to sneer at this particular man, and he's not a very sympathetic person to think about. But there are big issues here. When things like Uber, and there are all kinds of similar apps and similar systems that do the same things, when they track you and they monitor your activities, that monitoring becomes vulnerable. So people who might not have the same interests as you can get access to them. Now, it may be, in this case, it's the wife, and the wife perhaps, at least in some ways, has some right to know what her husband's up to. In many cases, it won't be like that. And in many cases, the information will be taken out of context. It will be misleading. It'll potentially damage you. And we don't know the details in this case. We don't know whether he'd done his settings right or anything like that, or whether it's a technical glitch. Either way, this information got out. And you can imagine the same things happening to people in similar situations in other, perhaps more deserving or more appearing to be deserving cases.
Do you think Uber should be better at protecting customers' data?
Without knowing the details, it's hard to be sure whether it's their fault. But in general, companies should be better at protecting people's data. They should put systems in place that are secure and understand the implications of data being leaked out. But also we should be a bit cleverer, a bit more savvy about understanding how systems are, and not being so willing to trust our entire lives to systems that basically don't really have our interests at heart. They want to track us for their purposes, not for our purposes. We should be a little bit more aware of that and a little bit more sensible about how we use things, when we use things, and what the potential risks are.
But it's true, these days we're all signed up to a variety of apps, aren't we? Location-based ones on all different devices. But we probably don't really know what we're signing up to. So you think that consumers should take responsibility here, be more discerning rather than routinely click on the I agree button?
I certainly think that the consumer needs to be more savvy, more discerning about what they do and don't sign up to. It's easy to be seduced by some particular new convenience and not to understand what the potential risks are. But at the same time, we should be able to trust that companies will do what they're supposed to do and that they will look after us. And in that way, it's really, in some senses, down to the lawmakers and the regulators to put systems in place that make sure that companies are held responsible when they make messages. Now, we don't know what the situation is in this case. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens, how Uber reacts. Do they defend actively? Will this be settled out of court? Will it be quietly dropped? We don't know. But there are many privacy advocates and many people like me who will be watching this with great interest to see what they actually do. And again, because he's not, at least on the surface, a very attractive claimant, it's easy just to laugh at it. But the implications of this sort of thing are actually quite significant.
There's significant issues about privacy for all of us, all consumers out there who are signed up to apps. Well, Paul Bernal at the University of East Anglia, thank you.